is what our goal is. So versus react.
And if I could, one thing I would say, as much as we talk about the various isms, a lot of this is really how you treat people. How you treat people regardless of what background they're coming from. You're in a school with several hundred people in it. That's a pretty important thing. It's important for people to feel like they're being treated equitably, but it's also important for people to just simply know how to interact with other people well. And for young people, this is where they're getting the majority of the socialization in terms of how to interact with other people. That's going to take them through the rest of their lives. So it's a pretty important foundation to create for them to learn how to interact with other people. And I can tell you, as someone who also is on the Board of Regents at UW system, there's ongoing communications constantly with large employers who express how important it is for them to come to the University of Wisconsin and be able to find graduates who they can put anywhere in the country. And a big part of that is them being able to interact with anyone, not just people who may be from the same type of environment or background as they are. So it becomes a benefit, or it should be a benefit to everyone in the environment, not just a particular group or anything like that.
Like I said, keep it simple. It's about doing right by kids, doing right by the learning community.
Yep.
Any other questions for Stan?
My question is probably premature, but with the brief discussions you've had with Scott and the others, are there any obvious issues you see that we need to be talking about?
Well, I think, and this is not really unique to Mayville, a very small group of challenges can have a big impact on an entire community, and it is very easy to get so focused on that it gets hard to run an organization. So one of the things that I really like to do and want to do is connect with some of the folks involved and develop a relationship and really make them part of the solution, help them to become part of the solution. So that's really, as far as what I've seen so far, the biggest impact we probably could make the most quickly would be to start to interact with some of those folks, develop a relationship, and all get on the same page to create the best environment possible for their kids and all the other kids.
Any other discussion on this resolution? If not, Joe?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Motion carried 6-0-1. Thank you, Stan.
Thank you very much. You all have a good evening.
Nice meeting you.
It's time for dinner now.
Take care.
I guess the only other comment
It's at
I
4
make
o'clock,
is I do see this as a very high priority issue. This is
Yep.
very worthwhile investment.
Okay. Moving back up. Jim, are you ready for a treasurer's report?
Yes. Treasurer's report for Monday, May 21, 2018. Total expenditures for April 2018, $1,356,525.74. Our current investments, state investment pool general fund has $1,757,942.50. Earned interest of $2,605.95. Debt service account has a balance of 14 cents. And our non-refundable debt has a balance of $1,246.40. Earned interest of $1.77. Total investment, government investment pool at 1% interest, $1,759,189.04. Our Teresa State Bank balance as of April 30 is $2 million total. Excuse me, go backwards here, but total investment is $1,163,493.04. General account has a balance of $1,151,434.77. Earned interest of $1,327.41. Money market general has a balance of $10,851.09 for an interest of $8.91. And our money market fund 46 trust has $1,207.18 or an interest of 89. Total cash investments as of the end of April, $2,992,682.08. And I'm sure as you've seen, there's a report below that on our referendum account showing the starting balance, interest earned, and the expenditures to date.
Okay, you've heard the treasurer's report, and I need a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Dick,
Second.
second by Joe. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Dick?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 601. Resolution 1718244, approval of regular semi-monthly bills. Motion?
So moved.
By Norm, second by
Me.
Ron. Any questions on the bills?
Nothing exciting.
Hearing none. Norm?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carried 601. Resolution 1718245, approval of per diem. Need a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Jim, second by
Second.
Joe. Any changes?
I've got one less, 10/5/10. I wasn't here on that Thursday. And I had a special CISA meeting, so that one is included in there. I missed the one on our regular board meeting.
So the one is covered,
Right,
so you just have to strike the 510.
right.
And dates for tonight.
And days for tonight, yes.
The vouchers, keep the same name. That's the bill.
Any other changes? Not Jim.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 601.
Who was this, Jim?
Okay. Good signs. Committee assignments. Here's what I've come up with. Buildings and grounds and transportation is Jim, Norb, and Dick. Dick is the chairman. Negotiations is Dick, myself, and Jim is the chairman. Policy committee is Norb, Dave Oganoff, and Joe Holman, and Joe is the chairman. Curriculum and instruction, Dave Oganoff is the chairman, Norb Dornfeld, and Ron Andes. Emergency leave would be Dave, Joe, and myself. Food service would be Dick, Jim, and Ron. Ron, you're the chairman of that.
Is that?
Free food. Well,
Nothing yet.
You gotta feed the kids when the.
We'll find out, yeah.
Okay.
CISA delegate is Dick, and the WASB delegate would be you, Ron. And what that involves is, in January is the state convention, and you would go as our delegate. You would go to the delegate meeting, and you would learn like all the resolutions that they want to get through. So
We'll help
it's
you.
a good learning learning tool for you. So,
It's in January.
yeah.
So
So,
late, I missed it.
Yeah.
well, the next one.
Oh, the next
It's the
I
coldest
was
week
at
of the
the last
year.
one.
Yeah, yeah, Joe was at he was a delegate this past year. So we can ask Joe if you have any questions about what it was all about.
It's neat.
So, those are the assignments.
Can I have a copy of
Yeah. Yeah.
And John,
Yeah.
I never received anything that any of these assignments were gonna be assigned like this. I was hoping maybe we could take a look at like switching up buildings and grounds. And he's got a lot of experience in construction. He's been doing it all his life. I didn't understand. I don't know. So,
Well, he's welcome to go to the meetings. It's just I hate, that particular one this year, I hate breaking that up.
what's that?
So, Ron's gonna have enough on his plate to learn about.
It's a new year.
You're gonna make me learn something new?
Huh?
You're gonna make me learn something new?
On the board, yeah, you're gonna learn a lot.
So, I can come to that meeting for buildings and grounds, right?
Yeah, you can come.
But I
It's
have,
a-
I don't have
So-
say, I don't have any kind of input, right?
We listen, it's
We
just that
listen.
you're not part of the vote.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
you listen.
all right.
And right now, there ain't too much we vote on because it's,
Pretty well decided for the present time.
and we don't even have any schedule, we don't think.
You're gonna have to have one within 2 weeks.
Okay,
State of state.
Oh,
So we've
okay.
got our summer projects. And
Oh, that
all
was-
those,
right.
all the quotes are
Right.
coming in finally here, and we've got to move on. There's about $150,000 that's been allotted for summer work. And we need to get as many quotes as possible for a competitive process that we have as far as our policies go. So all those will be presented with the recommendations for the summer work, and pretty much get asking for a stamp of approval for that.
so we're actually really behind on that.
We are. So Joel we're not behind, we're behind on you having it, because the ideas are there, we're working on getting all the quotes. And with all the referendum work occurring, it's just a lot
We
going
usually
on.
do that in real,
So-
well, there was no spring this year.
So literally within, if it's 2 weeks from now, that's late. So it may even be next week.
You're
So-
voting on stuff, but the information's out there before you vote, right?
To this group,
Yeah.
so what they come is well, it depends. It's gonna depend. No, actually, a lot of the information comes right there. Then they have time to process, deliberate. Sometimes meetings go for like 3 hours. So sometimes they do get stuff in advance, but I would say not necessarily. The committee meetings, you often get it right then and there. The policy committee, they had time in advance. There's way too much reading and stuff to do. But for the B and G, I would say it depends. Yes, they get it in advance, and no, not necessarily. So what I've seen in my time here over the last 2 years is that not every single time is there a packet that they get in advance. Some of it they get right there. But these aren't like high-pressure decisions that people are making. They got time to process it. So come, you'll see.
I want to see.
Speaking of which, do we get that second half of that policy yet?
Yeah, now that we know the policy committee, we need to have a meeting, so thanks for that. I will, now that I know who I'm working with, we'll send emails out and we'll get that on the calendar, so.
Okay.
Thank you for saying that. I did forget about that, so that's good.
Okay, Jim, you have a negotiation report, committee report?
Yes, I do. You've seen the minutes of the meeting we met last week, Wednesday. The committee met with our, I believe, wellness committee is the appropriate name for the staff.
The Employee Benefits Advisory.
Okay, Employee Benefit Advisory Committee.
Yep.
Who had been meeting with Scott for quite some time, discussing employee benefits and our health insurance. So we met with the committee last Wednesday, and the committee did make, after hearing the discussion and hearing the recommendation from the committee and Scott's recommendation, We did make a recommendation to agree with what Scott will be presenting in his superintendent's report. So rather than me try to cover a very complicated discussion, I'm going to leave that to Scott. I would correct the minutes there. It was called to, the meeting was called to order by myself as chair with appropriate direction by John to make sure I did it correctly. And I also adjourned the meeting.
Right, at the end should be adjourned by Jim.
Right.
In the minutes.
I just went off what Karen had.
Okay.
No big deal.
Okay, administrator report?
All right, I'll just move right into that.
Yeah.
So, I'll speak to that group that he's referring to. So the Employee Benefits Advisory Group, that is not a board committee, that's mine. So what happened is we have a broker as a school district, and the broker said, hey Scott, what about getting feedback from staff? So times are changing in the world of healthcare, what do you think? Absolutely, but their advisor is what's important. So we go through a learning experience. They are committing hours and hours of our time, which is great. Especially like the other night, we met for about 2.5 hours, I believe. And the goal is to learn about trends in healthcare as well as trends in wellness. So that's where Jim kind of talked about having a wellness committee. We did have a wellness committee, which was also an employee wellness committee, not the district wellness policy group. And too many names being put out there. So it's the Employee Benefits Advisory Committee, and they do provide guidance to us as far as our wellness initiative for staff that is directly related to what they pay for premiums towards health insurance. So that's what that's about. So we don't talk about anything regarding the wellness policy of the school district. We just talk about staff. So you've got the Employee Benefits Advisory Committee. We're in year 2 of working with our broker to look at, okay, we did an investigation on what's happening out there. We're looking at our own benefits this year and saying, okay, well, what's the trend? Well, our trend that we're thinking is we're probably leaning towards going to even a higher deductible and then looking at a health savings account to help offset that high deductible by all the savings that come from what we're paying for premiums. What we've learned is in the world of health insurance, we actually are in the middle of the pack for what we pay for premiums, for the coverage that we have. So what's happened in our area, you've got kind of 2 camps that have occurred. You either have those that are moving towards Dean or those that are with the Wisconsin Counties Association Group Health Trust. There was another factor that was out there. Everybody's kind of moving towards these 2 entities. So we already made the move to Wisconsin Counties Association to Group Health Trust, and we received a renewal that was 18% based upon use. So we're in this kind of pseudo self-funded world. We got one more unit actually. And this piece, this shows what our, the decision was made after looking at Dean's option. WPS is another provider that provided a quote to us. When they provided that quote, it was actually not competitive and never made it to the table. And then there were other groups, Anthem, Quartz, and Network Health Plan, that declined to quote. This was not the year that we were thinking we were going to go out to market. We went to market when we saw the 18% renewal. We received the 18% renewal because we used the insurance. When you use the insurance and you're self-funded, you're going to get a higher increase. That's just how it goes. So the good news is the insurance was available for staff to use. That's the positive news. The other part that's important to share is we have information that it's not connected to a person. We don't get that kind of data. But we have information to show that our wellness initiatives are working, that it is having a positive impact on our staff. So kind of a survey that they fill out. And then we also have data to show what our needs are as far as when we look at our wellness incentive for premium reduction, what the target of that will be for 2018-19. So right now, WPS's quote was not competitive. The Anthem Quartz Network Health Plan, they designed or declined a quote, and then the quote from Dean was vetted out for hours, is what happened. So Dean came to the meeting, and presented their plan. We already had a very good understanding of what was happening with our renewal. This was not the renewal we actually received originally, is what you see on the left-hand side with the 18%. So the actual renewal, which because we're sticking with GHT, did not require board adoption. So I'm just sharing with you, this is what we're up to. So we went from a PPO plan, which is a broad network, to a more narrow network, which is an HMO. And what we learned throughout this process is that we learned the word disruption. And disruption is a big deal in the world of healthcare. And as the trends are occurring and they're getting to more narrow networks, fewer and fewer doctors are included in these networks. So then when you're trying to say, well, I'm gonna go to John over at Aurora, sorry, Aurora's not in the network anymore. So, and that's what we found out with the Dean plan. Dean just purchased, I think it's Agnesian, and what's great about that is that they're now able to offer a wider network than they were before, but it's still pretty much a ProHealth, Agnesian, Dean plan, and we learned about the stuff that was not included, the opportunities of doctors that were not included. Now, when we looked at this plan, when we went with an HMO, that's a more narrow network. However, because this group health trust has one of the largest networks in the state of Wisconsin, right now, this year it's about like 1.5% of our claims were actually out of network this last year. That's knowing that people can go out of network. But in the world of consumerism, you really want to stay in network because those out of network costs go up. So by sticking with this plan, even though we have a narrow network, they actually have the broadest network out of everything that we had for opportunities, which is good. Our staff are coming from all over the area, and there was a lot of disruption when we looked at the other options. So in this, though, in order to get to that 8%, the biggest decision was to get to an HMO, so to narrow the network. And then it was, so then you see down on the third section, which is annual out-of-pocket maximum, you can see the out-of-network, the 6,000, 12,000 is gone. There is no such thing as out-of-network now. If you go to out-of-network, they maybe negotiate a discount, but it's actually not covered by insurance at that point in time. So office visits, you see a in-network 10, then it goes to 25. You don't see the out anymore, those are gone. There is no more out-of-network coverage. Routine preventative care, you can see it says NA on the right-hand side versus $25 for out-of-network. So anything out-of-network, it just says nothing. So like right now though, you do see an urgent care out-of-network is included. So in the event of emergency, you need urgent care or an emergency room, there's still an out-of-network component to it. That's still going to be covered. However, it went from $50 to $75 for urgent care and $100 to $250 for the emergency room. Through the strategic planning and talking with our broker over 2 years, we knew that some of these changes were coming. So that was kind of, we knew that some of these were very likely for this year. So then the prescriptions, it adds a new tier onto it. So instead of being a cap at 50, there's a new section called 100, and then the $50, the 25 goes to 30, and the 50 goes to 60. So there's increased consumer cost. So if you use the insurance, it's there, but there is a slight cost, an additional cost to those things. But you can see the difference. By making a change in the plan, by narrowing the network and making these smaller changes, it results in about $139,000 in savings to the district on our renewal. So we have, as far as the next variable for us is dental, we decided we're going to stick with Delta Dental for as far as renewal. We did see some other quotes. All of those weren't at the table yet. Probably the best opportunity in the world of dental is this new plan called, it's Colonial. But the thing is, they don't have their network built yet. So what we learned in the world of dental insurance is that you can switch by month. So if they build the network, which sounds like they're working on right now, we may switch to Colonial Dental, and that may even occur in the month of October for that net. But we're only going to move if there's a network, because right now it's a new opportunity, and they're building that network as we speak. So the word disruption, again, we learned a lot about that, and if you